How do you get out of having 5 straight weeks of a show with a disqualification ending by having a main event with no disqualifications? Finally, the streak has ended. Raw tonight was in Philadelphia, and so they made the main event tonight an Extreme Rules match, because when you're in Philly, that's what you do, especially when Paul Heyman's guy is in the main event. And so that is how they ended the show tonight. Bron Breakker and Jey Uso in an Extreme Rules match, which featured the return of one Roman Reigns. We saw him laid out a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I think. So he was back tonight. Not only was Roman Reigns back, he helped his cousin win. Jey Uso gets the win. But also, we now have a new match added to the Clash in Paris card. It is going to be Roman Reigns one-on-one with Bronson Reed. The Battle of the Shula Fala. Roman is going to try to get his shoes back, I assume. Although he's got more than enough money, he could just keep buying new pairs. It really doesn't matter. But as a matter of respect, I don't think he wants Bronson Reed walking around with his shoes around his neck for the rest of time, so he'll try to get his shoes back in Paris. But that was how they closed the show. And I actually thought the main event was good. There was some chaos there at the very end. Again, it was your typical WWE Extreme Rules match. I mean, nothing you haven't seen before. And they largely kept it to ringside. They didn't really go through the crowd or anything like that. We also had tonight a very special announcement from the Women's World Champion, another member of the Bloodline, Naomi, who was disqualified from competition last week, not medically cleared. She was supposed to defend her title against IYO SKY. That did not happen. And they've been very, very hush-hush all week long about Naomi's condition. Nothing leaked. Nothing was said about an injury or an illness or anything else. But rumors were going bonkers, obviously, on social media. I talked about what I thought it might be, but it was all speculation. It is speculation no more. Naomi is with child. And so, therefore, Naomi has vacated the Women's World Championship. And again, I think a lot of people expected this to be the case, especially Natty on Busted Open the other day. I mentioned this on the podcast. She made a comment about, clearly she had spoken to Naomi and she knew more than she was letting on, but she made a comment to the effect of, yeah, things are kind of crazy right now, but crazy in a good way, not necessarily crazy in a bad way. And to me, I think that basically gave it away, right? If it's a good kind of crazy, then it could only be one thing. And so Big Jim, who knew that, of all the people who could take that championship from Naomi, it was Jimmy Uso. But yes, he did not proceed with caution, and so she is pregnant. She will now go off to tend to her family. And the Women's World Championship is vacant. They did not shed any light on what they plan on doing. They did mention the fact that Stephanie VACATES has a guaranteed Women's Championship match in Paris in, at this point, probably less than 2 weeks. But that next week, they'll shed some more light on exactly how they intend to work that out. And I've talked about, it's very simple, actually, in terms of how you work this out. It should just be a one-on-one match. Stephanie gets her title shot. IYO gets the title shot that she was supposed to get last week, but got cheated out of. IYO SKY against Stephanie VACATES. Let them go out there for 15 minutes and tear it up. That's it. Now, the only thing I can think of is if they really want Rhea Ripley on that show, they just kind of toss her in there to make it a triple threat just to get her on the card because she is such a big star. But she's really not needed. I mean, again, if they want her on the show, then have her come out and do commentary or something. I don't know, but the solution seems very obvious to me without the need to have some sort of number one contenders match or qualifying match or mini tournament or something like that. So we'll find out about that next week. But in terms of the announcement itself, I have to say, the actual announcement that Naomi made tonight was fucking great. In terms of these types of announcements, and I don't just mean like a pregnancy announcement, but like an injury announcement, somebody has to vacate a championship. This was among the very best that I've ever seen. And obviously she didn't have very long as the champion. And she only defended her title once in that time. I mean, it wasn't quite, Finn Balor getting hurt at SummerSlam after winning the Universal title and then having to forfeit the very next night. It wasn't quite that extreme. The timing for her career could not come at a worse time. but it is the best possible announcement. Obviously, I'm sure she's over the moon. She's spoken very openly about her desire to start a family. I believe she's 37 years old. And you just get to a point where it's like, all right, this is either going to happen or it's not. And she was kind of right there where if it was going to happen, it kind of had to happen right now. And it did. So the timing for her career may not be the best. She'll come back. Hopefully she can pick up where she left off. She's been doing great work as a heel. She's been very entertaining in these segments on TV the last few weeks. So she was really coming into her own. Where Raw kind of gets a body blow in this is because Liv Morgan went down with an injury. Effectively, what they did was they moved Naomi from SmackDown to Raw to replace Liv Morgan as the top female heel on Monday nights. And she was doing a very good job, and now she's gone. And Liv Morgan is still many months away from coming back. So now they're back kind of to square one as far as who takes that spot as the top female heel on Monday Night Raw. You know, is it Asuka, who's certainly been teasing that she's going to be going heel soon? Is it Bayley? And tonight we got another, and this was a very weird segment, kind of a pre-tape segment with Bayley, who it appears is probably going heel, but is she going to be the top heel on the show? Does Becky Lynch, as the Intercontinental Champion, sort of become the de facto top female heel? There's an opening now. You know, where situations like this come up, it presents an opportunity for somebody else to step up. Who that person ends up being, we'll have to wait and see. There was a solid match on the show tonight between IYO SKY and Raquel Rodriguez. Outside of that and the Naomi segment and the main event. And that's enough right there to, automatically make this a better show than last week. But still, the rest of the show, very dull, very lifeless, as was this crowd in Philly, honestly, outside of when they hit Roman's music. This was not a very lively crowd here in Philadelphia. The rest of the show was just kind of there. Like I said, very, very boring, very uneventful. Lifeless is probably a good word for it. We've seen a lot of this, especially since SummerSlam. We've seen a lot of this on WWE television, Raw and SmackDown. And so tonight really wasn't all that different. Now, a couple of notes here. It sounds like we're going to be getting an announcement in the next couple of days, probably by midweek. There will be an announcement made about this September PLE. You've been hearing a lot of rumors about it. They are going to be doing a PLE. It's going to be running opposite AEW All Out. That's going to be on Saturday, September 20th. And it appears that this show is going to be called WrestlePalooza, which is a name that ECW used back in the mid to late 90s. And they took it from Lollapalooza. That's how WrestlePalooza became a thing. And so it sounds like that's going to be the name of the show. And it also sounds like it's going to be airing on ESPN. And there's a possibility that all of the remaining PLEs this year may also either air or simulcast on ESPN. But this one, it sounds like some kind of announcement is going to be made in the next few days. That WrestlePalooza will be airing on ESPN on September 20th. So that's what we know now about that. It'll be confirmed in a couple of days. That's where we're going to be getting the John Cena, Brock Lesnar main event. Next Monday, because they're about to kick off this international tour. So Friday, for example, they're going to be in Dublin, Ireland. First time the WWE in its history has ever done TV in Dublin or anywhere in Ireland. I have to check. I believe if you are in certain markets, if you want to use your VPN, that you could probably watch SmackDown early. I want to say maybe around 3 o'clock Eastern time. I'll confirm that. If that is the case, that's what I plan on doing. And if so, the plan would then be to go live around 8 o'clock Eastern time for the live stream, which is when SmackDown would be starting here in the States. So just be aware of that. But also next Monday, they're going to be in England. And they flat out said that on Netflix, the show is airing live at 3 p.m. Eastern. You don't need a VPN for that one. 3 o'clock Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. Much earlier start time for Raw next Monday, which means an earlier review. Also, probably 8 o'clock Eastern. So I'm not going to go live immediately after Raw, but we will be going live earlier next week. Now, there's another very interesting item. Could mean nothing, could mean something. People who have tickets to some of the upcoming episodes of Raw in September have seen the start times on their tickets updated a little bit earlier than they were originally scheduled for. So, for example, the Raw on September 15th is now listed for a 6:30 p.m. local start time. September 22nd, Raw in Evansville, Indiana, is now listed for a 5:30 p.m. local start time, which would be 6:30 Eastern. And the September 29th Raw in Raleigh, North Carolina, is now listed for a 6:30 p.m. local time. There is speculation, and this could tie into Monday Night Football starting up soon, that potentially starting in September, Raw could be moved up an hour earlier from 8 p.m. Eastern to 7 p.m. Eastern. Now, this has not been confirmed. It is, at this point, just speculation, but there could be smoke to that fire. So just be aware of that the start time for Raw, at least on a temporary basis, perhaps, could be moving up by an hour. So if I hear anything new on that, I will keep you guys in the loop. But again, just be aware of that, especially if you are in those markets and you have tickets for those shows, that the shows have been bumped up a little bit. This is your Raw on Netflix review. I am the Solomonster. It is Monday night. It is August 18th, 2025. Like and subscribe. Super chats are open. I do appreciate all of your support, as always. I also want to give a quick plug for Sound Off episode 925. That went up yesterday. A lot of news covered in that episode. And I've gotten a lot of feedback, positive and negative, mostly positive, to the segment covering WWE, TNA, AEW. If you missed it, go check it out. It's good stuff. Cover a lot of other stuff. Triple Mania review, AEW Forbidden Door predictions. So that's all up on the podcast right now. If you missed it, please go back and check that out. So let's get into this Raw show here tonight. They advertised that The Vision would be appearing on the show. They did not tell us what The Vision would be doing. They did not give us really any information about what The Vision would be involved in tonight collectively, just that they would be appearing. And so they opened the show with them. They didn't waste any time. We had Seth Rollins and his crew come out to the ring. Rollins... Now, look, I know that Rollins is always wearing something very outlandish on these shows. Some kind of weird outfit, giant moon boots. It's always something with this guy. Tonight, he was wearing a shirt and pants that had a floral pattern. He looked like my grandmother's garden. I don't know why he was dressed this way. This man is the world heavyweight champion, but there he is. So the fans were cheering for Paul Heyman, who said that he was a god in this city. Did I mention they were in Philadelphia tonight? Said the city would build him a statue, but he was far too humble to accept credit that he deserved for everything that he's done both in front of the camera and behind the camera. Bluntly, he says, "I am the GOAT." And then Heyman said the ring was filled with goats, and he put over Bron Breakker, he put over Bronson Reed, who still had Roman shoes around his neck. Heyman put over Rollins and said that he's beaten Roman Reigns not once but twice. Rollins was about to speak, but Jey Uso's music hit, and he entered through the crowd, and he stayed in the crowd. He was cutting his promo surrounded by kids and fans. He was in the crowd, and he said that he was tired of the Vision. He's not the only one. He called Breakker a puppy dog who would have to deal with him tonight because they were scheduled to go one-on-one. Rollins was in the ring just egging on Bron Breakker, and he's claiming that Jey was saying things about Breakker and his family that he really wasn't saying. He claimed that Jey just said, he was a better and stronger athlete than you. He claimed that Jey said that Bron's father was stupid and that his uncle was a moron, and that Breakker's family is a bunch of fat asses. And what I loved about this is that it was the fat ass line that finally broke Bron Breakker, and he almost made a beeline into the crowd towards Jey Uso. He had to be held back by the other members of the group. Everything else was fair game, but once he said he's calling your family a bunch of fat asses, that was it. He was ready to murder someone. So Heyman said, "You want to do this to us in Philadelphia?" And then he went on to pay homage to members of the ECW roster. And he said that you want to do this to us in Philly, in a bingo hall not far away. Men used to settle their differences in the ring in a particular kind of match. No disqualifications, no countouts. Winner by pinfall or tap out only. In the name of the Sandman, smashing a beer can into his head. In the name of New Jack, being the only real gangsta in the business. In the name of Rob Van Dam, smoking his opponents all the way to the corner of Swanson and Rittner. In the name of the late, great Sabu, innovating moves that no one ever saw before. In the name of the late, great Tommy Dreamer. And then he stopped himself and he said, "Yeah, I know he's not dead yet, but he should be." It's like, wow. Okay. All right. And the best part of this, that wasn't even the best part of this. The best part of this is he says all of this. And then Bron Breakker walks over to him. And like he says this with this genuine look of like wonderment in his face. And he just walks over to Heyman and he just asks him, "He's still alive?" Like he genuinely couldn't believe it. Like he's still alive? I'll tell you what, Heyman is lucky to be alive. If you know about the plot that Dreamer once talked about nearly hatching at WrestleMania 17. If you know that story, Heyman ought to be thanking his lucky stars that fate intervened that night. I wonder how much money he still owes Dreamer after all these years. So then he kept going. He goes, "In the name of the Dudley Boys, putting everyone through tables." And at that point, Jey had heard enough. And so he cut Heyman off and he suggested, "You know what? The only rules I'm interested in, since we seem to be on the same wavelength here, the only rules that I'm interested in are extreme rules." And he issued the challenge to Bron Breakker tonight to an Extreme Rules match. And that is how we got our main event. Yes, Quizzical says fate equals Jim Ross. It was a Jim Ross phone call, right? I believe it was a voicemail or a phone call, and maybe Dreamer took the call. I don't remember, but as the story goes, yes. Had JR not called Dreamer. And again, it's just a story. You take him at his word, but who knows? Maybe he's making stuff up. But like, if he would have followed through on the evil intentions that he had in his mind, my God, you imagine? WrestleMania 17, right? Widely regarded as the greatest WrestleMania of all time. It's certainly one of them, if not the greatest WrestleMania of all time. And Jim Ross and Paul Heyman are ringside doing commentary. That was actually Heyman's first show, I believe, first pay-per-view since coming to WWE, where he was doing commentary. And Dreamer, talked about how he was going to come up behind Heyman in the front row and just pop him, just like bust a cap in his head. And I think he said he was going to off himself too, like just really horrific shit. I mean, that would have put a damper on WrestleMania. I mean, Vince McMahon, he would have waited 5 whole minutes before continuing with the rest of the show as they hauled the bodies off. So anyway, that was your opening segment to build to our main event. You got some ECW references there from Heyman. We'll see if Dreamer gives him a little zinger back on Busted Open. IYO SKY was backstage. She was shown at the gorilla position getting ready to head out for her match tonight when Asuka and Kairi Sane walked up to her. Asuka apologized for shoving IYO. There was some drama last week between the Kabuki Warriors and IYO. Mainly IYO and Asuka. Kairi's been kind of in the background trying to play peacemaker. It's really Asuka who has been annoyed with IYO SKY recently. Yeah, the Willie says it would have lowered the mood just a little bit at WrestleMania. I'm trying to give Vince credit. Maybe he would have waited 6 whole minutes. Clean up ringside. You got brain matter on the floor and shit. You gotta sweep that shit up. Hey, Hebner, outside. Chad Patton, you, come here. Fink. Come on, we're all working together here. Clean this shit up. We got a show to do. Maybe 6 minutes. So the Kabuki Warriors, they confront Io here. And Kairi said, let us know if you need help tonight. And Io said, look, I know that you always have my back, but I need to do this on my own. Asuka, just like you have done in the past. I need to do this by myself. And then they all smiled and they all high-fived each other and everything seemed all hunky-dory between them. And Io went out to the ring for her match, which was IYO SKY one-on-one against Raquel Rodriguez. Io was about to go for a dive. She got tripped up early in the match by Roxanne Perez on the outside. Raquel used that distraction. As soon as Io turned around, she ate that foot. Man, she mowed this woman down with a big boot. And that took us into the commercial break. As soon as they came back from the break, wouldn't you know, Io made her come back. It's almost like they know. Io hit a missile drop kick, went for the bullet train running knees. Rodriguez, though, caught her and hit a Samoan drop, followed by a corkscrew elbow for 2. Raquel avoided a moonsault, turned Io inside out with a clothesline. Io wiped out Roxanne with a suicide dive, and then went for one on Raquel. Raquel, though, caught her and then rolled through to her feet. Raquel lawn darted Io onto the ring apron and then went for a Tejana bomb in the ring, but Io countered out of it and hit the bullet train. And then Io followed with her Genius of the Sky moonsault for the win. Put it away for IYO SKY, yet another victory. So Perez and Rodriguez, they attacked Io when the match was over until Rhea Ripley, not the Kabuki Warriors, who were told by Io, stay in the back, I got to do this by myself. But she never said that to Rhea Ripley. So Rhea Ripley comes out, makes the save, Io joins in, they work together to get rid of Raquel. The match picked up nicely in the second half. Second half was definitely better than the first half. And the post-match angle, obviously designed to add more friction to the relationship between IYO SKY and Asuka. And that's exactly what happened, because in the back, a couple of segments later, Io was thanking Rhea Ripley for helping her. Rhea was trying to explain herself. I had to do something, and Io's just, thanking her. Here come Asuka and Kairi. And they walk up, and Asuka did not look very happy. And Asuka took issue with Io letting Rhea help her, but telling the two of them that we can't help you. So Ripley and Asuka, they got into a shouting match. And then Io just completely lost her mind. She's trying to get in between them. She's trying to shout them down. She's screaming. Then she starts muttering to herself in Japanese, and she walks off. And Asuka looks at Rhea and tells Rhea, stay out of our business. And Asuka leaves. So now it's just Rhea and Kairi. And Kairi's got her hands on her head, like she's got this pained expression on her face. Ultimately, she leaves to follow them. Rhea's in the hallway all by herself. I thought that they were going to pan over to somebody else that she was going to bump into. She didn't bump into anybody. Instead, what happened was she looks over and they show the wall. I don't mean, the WCW. Oh, it's the wall, brother. I'm not talking about the WCW wall. He's dead. But she looks at the wall, and then I remember it's Philadelphia, and it's the same wall that Rhea got ran into when she injured her shoulder in that backstage attack by Liv Morgan the night after WrestleMania, or 2 nights later, whatever it was. I think it was the Raw after WrestleMania last year when she hurt her shoulder, and that necessitated that Rhea be out of action for months, which led to Liv Morgan basically getting the rocket strapped to her in that division. And it ended up being a very advantageous thing for Liv Morgan because it launched her in a way that maybe otherwise she would not have been launched. And they would have blown off the Rhea and the Liv feud a lot earlier than they ended up doing. So she was having flashbacks. She was having a little PTSD as she stared at this wall. And then she walked into the locker room. Jackie Redmond interviewed LA Knight in the back. Before he could say really anything, CM Punk interrupted. Punk thought that Knight didn't like him. Knight said, look, it's not personal. It's just business. You keep sticking your nose in my business. Punk thought they should stay on the same page, so that way they have some strength in numbers against Seth's crew. Knight wasn't interested after Punk attacked him last week, and Knight said he was focused on walking out of Paris as the new World Heavyweight Champion. Yes, the Wall died. You did not know that the Wall died? I mean, I can't blame you. There's been so many wrestler deaths over the years. It's kind of hard to keep track, but yes. I don't remember how old he was. He wasn't that old. Yes, but the Wall from WCW, he passed many years ago. We had Penta, one-on-one with Xavier Woods, who had Kofi Kingston and Grayson Waller in his corner. Woods took control 90 seconds into the match, which could only mean one thing. We're getting a commercial break. And sure enough, that's what we got. Penta made a comeback. He wiped out Woods and Waller with a dive. Crowd was completely dead silent. This was as quiet a crowd has been for a Penta match in WWE. And it wasn't just this match. There were multiple matches on this show where the crowd was just very, very quiet. So Penta did not immediately go for a cover after he hit the Penta driver. Instead, Woods, he kind of rolled a few times to get himself closer to the ropes. Penta went for the pin. Kofi was able to grab the foot, place Woods' foot on the bottom rope for the break. I mean, just based on the positioning of the referee, I have no idea how the referee didn't see this. Obviously, he was not supposed to see it, but it kind of looked like he did, but he pretended he didn't. So that broke up the pin cover. So Penta then just went and wiped out Kingston and Waller with a flip dive out to the floor. This was basically the only reason that Grayson Waller was even at ringside for this match, was to take multiple dives. He didn't do anything else. All he has to do is stand there and be a crash test dummy and just take these dives. That's it. Just be a cushion for the person who's diving out of the ring. So Woods tried to steal a win after this with a small package. Penta kicked out, and he followed with a Canadian Destroyer, or a Mexican Destroyer, and he got the win. So with that win, I checked cage match because I was curious. So I checked the cage match statistics. With this win tonight, Penta moves back into the win column. Basically, if you're a baseball fan, he had basically been batting, 500. I mean, he was basically like even as far as his wins and losses. And so he's now made it above the 500 mark. 19 wins, 18 losses. Back in the win column. Now we just got to get him back in the creative column where we get him some interesting stories and feuds. This is not one of them. Of all the ones he's had so far, he actually hasn't had that many very interesting feuds with hardly anybody, right? He had that, whatever that was with Kaiser and Pete Dunne. And then he was kind of, I guess, feuding with Dom and going after the IC title. But really, he hasn't done a whole lot else. That has to change. Speaking of Dom, they showed Dominic Mysterio getting pinned by Vikingo in the four-way match from Triple Mania this past weekend. And that was thanks in part to a surprise cameo from one AJ Styles, who not only appeared at Slammiversary and WrestleMania, but Triple Mania, all in the same year. He's all over the place. And I was thinking about this. I've gotten more emails and tweets about this in the last few months than you might think. People who ask me, should John Cena win the Intercontinental title? And my answer is always the same. Why? Like, he has so few, even then, when they asked me the question, it was like he has so few dates left, and those dates aren't even all matches, right? So he has so few matches left. And he was still the WWE champion, and I'm getting these questions about the IC title. Like, why the hell would John Cena go after the title just because he's never held it before? Like, who gives a shit? He's not Sheamus. He doesn't give a shit about the Intercontinental title, I can promise you. But we are now in a situation where AJ Styles is going to be challenging Dominic in Paris, I believe. I don't know if that's official for Paris, but they're going to be having a rematch soon for the Intercontinental title. If AJ Styles was to win the Intercontinental Championship, that makes it very interesting, because one of the matches I would still love to see John Cena have before he's done, one more time, is John Cena and AJ Styles. So, do I think it's actually going to happen? I'm 90% sure it's not. But if AJ was to beat Dom to win the IC title, which is certainly possible, Dom's going to be going after the AAA Mega title next month. Maybe he drops the IC first, goes and wins the Mega title. If AJ Styles is the Intercontinental Champion, you might get your wish, at least in terms of John Cena challenging for the title. Him winning the title is a different story altogether. And my answer is still the same. No, John Cena does not need to win the Intercontinental title. He's not going to win the Intercontinental title. But if giving him an IC title match is the only way to get another Cena AJ Styles match, I'd be okay with that. I'm holding out hope. I'm not terribly optimistic about it, but it's at least possible. But yes, they showed the footage of the end of the main event from Triple Mania, which was a very good match. And it was very interesting. They were playing very loud music over the crowd's reaction at the end when Vikingo won so that you couldn't hear the boos. Because he gets the John Cena treatment now in Mexico where they boo him. He hasn't done anything wrong. He's just a victim of circumstance because they took the title away from Alberto Del Dipshit and they put it on Vikingo, and people didn't like that. They wanted Alberto to kind of be the face of AAA and still be the mega champion. So they resent Vikingo for it and they boo him just mercilessly. But you would never know if you were watching this footage here. So then they had some footage that they shot in the hallway backstage after the show. On Saturday, where Dom was walking down the hallway, he called AJ an old bat for costing him the championship and said that he would beat Vikingo at Worlds Collide for the AAA mega title. Now, that show was being held on Friday night, September 12th. And I assumed, because I believe they had announced this previously, but I assumed that the show would be airing immediately after SmackDown, 10 p.m. Eastern. And in fact, that is what they announced it for originally. When they put the graphic up here on this show for Dominic and Vikingo, on the bottom, it listed 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific as the start time for this Worlds Collide show. And I thought, well, still a lot of wrestling in the same day because you got SmackDown that night, but okay, I kind of like that better. I was a little skeptical because I was confused. And then sure enough, later in the show, they plugged it again, and this time they had Michael Cole do the narration for the plug, and it was back to 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. So I don't think these people know what the fuck they're doing because they've now announced multiple times for this show. Obviously, it's 10 p.m. Eastern. It's in Las Vegas. So to do it at 3 o'clock Eastern, that's what made me go, is that accurate? I'm not sure. But it is in fact not 3 p.m. Eastern. Just be aware of that. It is 7 o'clock local time, 10 p.m. Eastern time. They got to get their graphics on the same page. Finn Balor and JD McDonough. They are your World Tag Team Champions, but their titles were not on the line here. Dirty Dom in their corner. They took on Dragon Lee and Mr. Iguana. I think this was his first appearance of any kind on this show. Certainly his first match on Raw. And not much of a reaction for Mr. Iguana. Dragon Lee was in control for a couple of minutes before tagging in the Iguana. He got some light chance when he tagged in. Balor, though, immediately cut him off. Dragon Lee and Mr. Iguana then wiped out Balor and McDonough with dives ahead of a commercial break. When they came back, McDonough hit Dragon Lee with a Poison Rana. Lee quickly responded with a Liger Bomb. Mr. Iguana tagged in, and his offense consisted of using Yeska, his puppet iguana. Did not get much of a reaction. Dragon Lee tagged himself in. McDonough wiped out the iguana with a springboard moonsault. Balor hit Dragon Lee with a sling blade. Lee, though, came back with a super kick. McDonough distracted the referee as Dominic grabbed Lee by the leg. This allowed Balor to hit Dragon Lee with a super kick, or a drop kick, rather. Coup de grace for the win. Wins it for the Judgment Day. Dom then cleared off the announce table, and the camera panned over. And standing on the timekeeper's barricade is Vikingo. There he is. He's just standing there. And he hits a shotgun dropkick to Dom. And actually, when he hit the shotgun dropkick, Vikingo took a back bump on the announce desk. These reinforced announce desks. So that was a bit of a rough bump. And then in the ring, he attacked JD McDonough. Dom, though, came back in. He blasted Vikingo right in the back of the head with the AAA mega title. And Dom went up to the top. He hit Vikingo with a frog splash. Left him laying, and he posed with both belts. He had the Intercontinental title in one hand. He had the AAA mega title in the other hand. Where was Demonito? Says Tech Nation. Demonito is on WWE Shop. And if you've got $100, not including shipping and handling, you can own your very own Demonito puppet. With shipping, I would imagine it's like $115 if you want the Demon Balor puppet. So that's where it is. Well, look, at least the boos didn't follow Vikingo to the States. He didn't get booed to, actually, he didn't get really cheered either. He just sort of, the crowd was kind of indifferent towards him. He got some light cheers. But yeah, neither he or Mr. Iguana got much of a reaction. But they also, they're not regulars on WWE programming. If they're going to be appearing on a regular basis, then people will, come around to them. But they really didn't seem to give a shit here on this show. So then we got some follow-up to the segment last week with Bayley, which was a pre-produced vignette of her sitting in a chair, looking into the camera, talking about how she has just been on this horrific streak of bad luck. She used to be this, and she used to have this championship, and everything has just fallen apart around her. She has nothing, right? That was the gist of the promo last week. But it looked like she was kind of almost having like a nervous breakdown. And then the very end, you heard that old heel cackle when she was a heel doing the ding dong hello segments. And I thought the segment itself was well done. I didn't think it really needed the cackle at the end to kind of give away the story here, which is that she's going heel. This was the follow-up to what they gave us last week. And basically she's talking to herself now. That's basically what she's doing now. We could hear her inner voice tormenting her. We were in this woman's head, and the voice promised to steer her in the right direction if she listened to it. And Bayley is just putting her hands over her ears and plugging up her ears. And finally, the voice stopped. And Bayley, she unplugged her ears and she said that she doesn't know what she needs. And then the closing voice that you hear in the segment is sort of the heel, or what sounded like the heel Bayley voice saying, "How about a hug?" And that's how the segment ended. This was very goofy. Not only does she hear voices, now we hear the same voices. Good luck explaining that. Unless we're just going full Lucha Underground here. Which honestly, the way these shows have been lately, I'd be okay with that. At least it would make the shows interesting. But this was a very goofy segment here. But interesting enough that they appear to be going in the direction of, split personality, or what? I don't know what form this is going to take. I joked last week that maybe one week she'll come out as a babyface, another week she'll come out as a heel, and we'll get two different Baileys on the show. And any given week, you just won't know what version of her that you're going to get. I don't know if that's what they're planning on doing here, but anyway, Becky Lynch. Mr. J says, "I cannot believe the price." Oh, on Demonito? Are you shocked? You can't be that surprised that WWE would want $100 for the puppet. I mean, I said, what was the comment I made? I said, that iguana better eat like roaches and spiders and other bugs for that much money. I needed to actually like take on the qualities of an actual iguana. I have no idea, by the way, if iguanas eat spiders and roaches. I'm assuming. So we have Becky Lynch against Natalya. This was not Bloodsport Natty. This was not the Natalya that we saw at Triple Mania. This was WWE Natalya. And this was for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. I made the comment on my show because a lot of people are like, man, they should really use that version of Natty, but use it on WWE television. I don't want them to. And this is why. This match tonight is a perfect example of why. You may think you want that version of Natty, but you don't. Believe me, trust me, you don't. Because nothing will be different. Other than her appearance. When she comes out, maybe her style will be a little bit different because it is a different version of her, but the outcome is going to be the same. And if you do that and you just continue to, beat her on television like you always do, then whatever this is that she's been doing, like on these indie shows and at Triple Mania, if it has any kind of uniqueness, if it feels special in any way, you're going to beat the specialty out of it. By having her portray that version of herself on TV and continuing to book her like a jobber, what do you think is going to happen? No one's going to give a shit about Bloodsport Natty anymore. So unless they have a specific idea for her to do something with her on TV, a story for her, which they don't, why would you want them to let her start doing that on TV? You're just going to completely kill it. Let her go work the Josh Barnett shows. Let her do indies here and there. Let her do a Triple Mania show or a TNA show and be Bloodsport Natty and actually feel special and unique on those shows. I'd rather they do that. So as far as the match, Becky posted Natalya. They went to break 90 seconds into the match. They tried to play it up like Natty had a shoulder injury. The referee went over to check on her. Becky worked over her arm through the commercial break. Lynch applied an armbar when they came back, and Natty eventually fought out of it, hit a powerbomb. Natty sold her arm before going for a sharpshooter. Becky avoided it. Natty hit a discus clothesline only for a 2 count. So Maxine Dupree is outside. She's checking on Natalya. So Becky boots Maxine. Then she hits Tozawa, who's out there with a baseball slide, because he was checking on Natty. This led to Natty applying a cradle, which I am going to assume was intended to lead to a reaction. It was a reaction that never came. So, just whatever they were trying for, it didn't work. Becky kicked out. She applied the disarm her and got the submission win. It was very underwhelming. Becky ended up attacking Natty and Maxine when Maxine helped Natty to her feet after the match. She put Maxine in the disarm her until Nikki Bella ran out. They hit her music, and here comes Nikki. And Nikki ended up laying out Becky with her rack attack 2.0. I will say the Nikki attack was good. She had a lot of fire in the attack and ended up leaving, Becky laying. The match itself was just a big disappointment, though. I mean, the match with Maxine was very, a very basic, nothing doing kind of match. But I figured the goal was you kind of graduate from the Maxine match to doing something a little bit more in the Natty match. Because Natty is a vet and Becky is a vet. And you give them some time and try to have them go in there and have a competitive match. And it could end up being good. And it's like they didn't even really bother trying here. It was just a big disappointment. The crowd could not possibly give a shit. And why would they? Again, they don't do anything with Natty. So you throw her out there in a championship match. Absolutely nobody expected her to have a chance of winning the Intercontinental title. So it's a championship match, but you've taken away any drama that there could potentially be in this match. You haven't really built it up at all. It's not like Natty is featured on a regular basis on this show. She's racked up some wins recently. No. So, I can't even blame the fans for not caring. Why would they? They've not been given a reason to do so. This was very, very, very flat. Now, Jackie Redmond was in the back, and she attempted to interview Sheamus, but they were interrupted by Rusev. So here we go again. Here we go. And they're about to butt heads here in the hallway. Here comes security. Here come agents and everybody. Here comes Adam Pearce to get in between them. And Adam Pearce is furious. He's screaming. He's losing his mind. He looks like he's about to stroke out. Okay, he's turning red in the face. And he says, you know what? This has to end. And it's going to end. You want each other? Clash in Paris. Look at that. They're actually going to get a PLE match. Clash in Paris. Now, what have I been saying? What have I been mentioning to you as far as a stipulation, right? The good old-fashioned Donnybrook. When are we going to get the announcement of the good old-fashioned Donnybrook? We got it tonight. Sheamus and Rusev one-on-one. The blow-off match. Clash in Paris. In a good old-fashioned Donnybrook. So now the match is official. And at least they're actually going to get a PLE slot. That might be the most surprising part about the entire show tonight, was these two people that never get on these PLEs are actually going to have a PLE match. So elsewhere in the back, CM Punk approached Jey Uso, who was getting ready for the main event. He offered to have his back tonight to help make sure that he makes it to Paris. And Jey took offense to this. And as with LA Knight earlier, I don't think CM Punk got the answer he was looking for. Jey wanted to do this on his own, and he said that he was focused on Paris. And they shook hands, and everything was copacetic between the two of them. Now, at this point, the announcers, they set up a clip from Stephanie McMahon's podcast. So, if you don't know, Jimmy Uso and Naomi were the guests on Stephanie's podcast last week. It dropped on Thursday. And a lot of people, myself included, were wondering if we were going to get the announcement on that podcast of what was going on with Naomi, possibly a pregnancy announcement. And then it became clear that the interview was recorded previously. I believe it might have been recorded in late July. So we weren't going to get anything new on there. But they set up this clip where there was a bonus podcast. Like Stephanie is sitting on a couch and there's Naomi and there's Jimmy. And then there's another woman on the end who I think co-hosts Stephanie's podcast. I think it's like a friend of hers. And Stephanie says, we're back. We got a bonus show because there's a big announcement that you guys want to make. And they, the two of them were looking all giddy. And Naomi said, Jimmy has a message to share. And Jimmy is getting ready to share the message, and that's where they cut it off. And that was the segue into the live segment in front of the crowd. In the ring is the Raw general manager, Adam Pearce, and he introduces Naomi. She comes out with her brand new Women's World Championship. She got a custom designed strap with the caution tape on it. Actually, looks pretty cool. So she's got her brand new custom world title belt. She comes down to the ring and Pearce says, "Champ, the floor is yours." And he takes a step back. And you could tell that Naomi is very emotional. So at this point, like you understand, this is one of two things. And I think we already knew what this was going to be, especially after the setup with the Stephanie clip. But at this point, the woman standing in the ring, she's not visibly injured. Either she's having a baby or she's dying, right? And thankfully, she's not dying. So we pretty much knew where this was headed. And the fans start chanting her name, and Naomi says, "Man, this is hard." And she says, "You know what? Play the rest of the footage from that clip from Stephanie's podcast." And they put it back up, and it's Jimmy who says, "Y'all need to proceed with caution because there's a baby on board." Everybody in the arena cheers. Stephanie then had Naomi formally announce that she is pregnant and she is in fact having a baby. So everybody is happy. Everybody in the building is applauding and cheering, and Adam Pearce congratulates Naomi. And she's got tears coming down her face. Then Naomi goes into heel Naomi mode, and her demeanor changes. And she said, "Yeah, I'll bet that you're happy for me." She said it's not the first time for her relinquishing a championship. She said that she gave it up the first time, but this time she wasn't handing him shit. She said her hormones were jumping like a disco, and she told him to get the hell out of her face. And Pearce left the ring, and Naomi sang the goodbye song to him to try to get the crowd to sing it. And she did her evil cartoon villain laugh. She told Pearce that she hoped he tripped in his church shoes. So Naomi said the women backstage should thank Big Jim because they had no chance to take this title off of her. But thanks to Big Jim, he likes to Netflix and chill, if you know what I mean, she said. Fans started chanting, "You deserve it." On the bright side, she said, "I guess the bloodline continues, baby." And she laughed again. And for some reason, this led to an OTC chant. I have no idea why. Okay. Let's put up the ones. So Naomi, she looked at her new custom belt, and she said that she would lay it down on the mat. That's what she's going to do. The fans started a Baby Uso chant. Naomi said that she would give the heifers. God, it reminds me of that Brandy Rhodes promo. All you heifers. Who told you it was open mic night, bitch? Man, that promo still lives rent-free in my head. I don't know, it made me think of that for some reason. But Naomi said she would give the heifers a chance to do whatever they wanted to do with her title for the next 9 months and change. She said that she would be coming back to pick up where she left off. And whoever has that title when I do, I strongly advise you to proceed with caution. And then she winked into the hard cam, laid the title down, and made her exit. And that was the end of that. She never addressed poor Stephanie Velcro, who she was going to defend her title against at Clash in Paris. Obviously, that's no longer going to happen now. You know, as these types of announcements go, where somebody has to come out and forfeit a championship, this was fucking great. She's been great as a heel, no matter how hard she tried to be one here. You know, when this was over, I mean, she was being cheered like a babyface, obviously. And look, the timing for her career could not be any worse. She was on, I mean, actually, I take that back. The only way this could have been worse is if she had won Money in the Bank and had not yet cashed in and got the announcement, you know, found out the news that she was pregnant and she couldn't cash in to win the championship. Outside of that, the timing could not be any worse because she had just won the championship. She was really coming into her own as a heel. She, again, effectively replaced Liv Morgan as the top heel on the show. She had a match coming up with Stephanie. She had other matches that, you know, I'm sure they were planning on with her and Rhea. And then maybe her and IYO again and Asuka. Who knows, right? Who knows who they would have programmed her with. Liv when she came back. And so that's all out the window now. And she has to give up the championship and everything goes on the back burner. And who knows, you know, when we're going to see her again. Alexa Bliss went away at the Royal Rumble in 2023. We didn't see her until this year. She was gone 2 years. Becky Lynch. I don't know that Becky was out as long as Alexa, but it was probably a good year and a half, right? I mean, you know, in the promo, Naomi's like, you know, 9 months and change. Like, we're not going to see her for probably closer to a year and a half. It's going to be a while. And it's great for her. I mean, this is what she wanted. It's a wonderful announcement. I'm very happy for her because she's been very open about how important this was. She's talked about wanting to start a family and, you know, my biological clock is ticking and she only has one ovary. Like, she's talked about all this. So it's great news, but I'm sure it's a little bittersweet because this was her opportunity to finally kind of grab the bull by the horns and really get that run she's probably always dreamed of having. And you saw the potential for how great it could be, like her character work, and it's all out the window now. But Michael Cole said that we would have to wait until next week to find out the status of the Women's World Championship, which is now officially back in the hands of our good friend Vacant. Claims another one, but we would find out on the show. Now, we have one Raw left next week in Birmingham before Clash in Paris. That's the last Raw before the PLE, so we're going to have to find out what's going on then. I think the path of least resistance is IYO SKY against Stephanie Vaquer. That's it. And as I look at it, I go, how would I go about doing this? You know, I think I would put the title back on IYO. Here's what I would do. I would do IYO SKY and Stephanie Vaquer in Paris. Let them go out there and have a killer match, right? Stephanie comes close and it's a very competitive match. IYO SKY wins, right? Clean win, straight up, IYO wins. You go to Perth. Whether it's Crown Jewel, whether it's the Raw after Crown Jewel. Again, a lot of it depends on what the format is of Crown Jewel. All this champion versus champion nonsense. But in Perth, Rhea Ripley earns herself a championship match. And we get Rhea and IYO one more time. And the story isn't just Rhea trying to get the world title back. The story is that Rhea has never beaten IYO SKY, right? She finally does. Rhea finally beats IYO SKY. And she wins the world championship back. And that's where you begin the build. And maybe it's WrestleMania, whatever it is. You begin the build to Rhea and Stephanie for the Women's World Championship. And Stephanie Vaquer takes the title from Rhea Ripley. Because she could beat Io for the title and have a short run with it and then drop it to Rhea. I'd rather see her win the championship for the first time from Rhea Ripley. I just think it would mean more. Rhea and Stephanie, though, should be the long-term direction here. That's why I say probably a WrestleMania match, but that's how I would set things up. So to me, I mean, you don't really have to reinvent the wheel here. It's pretty straightforward stuff. Io and Stephanie both have claims to getting a shot at the title. So just put them together. Let them do their thing. Two of the best in that division. That's how I would set it up. Now, backstage, the Judgment Day, they were not sure where Dom was, and they found him. He was talking to El Grande Kaiser, or El Grande Americano. Dom told Balor he just wanted to ensure the Judgment Day always stays on top, because they were curious, like, what are you talking to him for? And Balor acted like he was okay with this, but clearly he was very caught off guard. So they closed the show with Bron Breakker against Jey Uso, who was paying homage to New Jack. He had a bandana on his head, and his shirt was cut off. He also rolled a shopping cart out to the ring with various weapons in it. Reminded me of Raven back in the days of him being the hardcore champion. Jey Uso against Bron Breakker. This was an Extreme Rules match. Blue Onion says, Be the Booker has been obtained. That's perfect. We'll be doing Be the Booker later. That's awesome. Thank you, guys. Keep hitting that thumbs up button. See if we can get to 500. Early on, Jey clothesline Breakker over the top rope, and the shopping cart was positioned right outside the ring. And Breakker landed knees first right on top of the shopping cart. So his knees went right into the garbage can, and he hit the floor. He immediately grabbed his leg like he was injured. So Jey goes and he pulls a table out. He pulls a Slim Jim table out from underneath the ring, which gave Breakker some time to regroup. Jey sent Breakker back out to the floor, hit him with a suicide dive. That took us into the final commercial break. So we had chairs and we had kendo sticks strewn about the ring. They were all introduced into the match. Jey came back very briefly. Breakker, though, turned him inside out with a clothesline. Jey had a little trickle of blood on the bridge of his nose. Nothing too serious. Breakker set up two chairs back to back in the ring. And then he cut off Jey's comeback attempt, dropped him gut first onto the top part of both chairs. And then Breakker did his usual leaping clothesline spot after this. The only difference is Jey's like up against the announce desk. Breakker this time grabbed a garbage can, and he launched himself off the apron, hit Jey on the way down with the garbage can. They both went flying over the announce desk. So back in the ring, Bron hit a Frankensteiner, or a Frankenbreaker, I think he calls it now. Is that the official name for it? Frankenbreaker. And went for a super spear. As he came off the ropes, though, Jey cut him off with a spear of his own. Jey hit him repeatedly with a steel chair, and then hit another spear, followed that with an Uso splash, seemingly had the win, but as the referee went for the count, Bronson Reed showed up. And Bronson Reed, I don't believe he was out there before, but he was there now. And Bronson Reed pulled the referee out of the ring. Again, no disqualifications, thankfully, here in this match. Reed attacked Jey Uso. Cole points out this is all legal, which one might question why Bronson Reed did not come out to assist Bron Breakker earlier in the match. That's actually a very good point. It was all legal. Why did he have to interfere in the match now? I mean, it could have been 2-on-1 right from the opening bell. But you know what? This is also a show where we saw a character having a breakdown, and we could hear that character's inner voices. We could hear the voices in her head. So probably a good thing to leave the logical questions off to the side. So LA Knight ran out to try to even the odds. Seth Rollins then ran out through the crowd in his ridiculous flowery outfit. Again, I swear to you, when she was alive, I know my grandmother had a dress like that. I remember it. It had all kinds of flowers and colors on it. I don't know. I don't know what to say. This man is the world heavyweight champion. So anyway, he runs out and he attacks LA Knight. Rollins then gets in the ring. He lays out Jey Uso with a pedigree. CM Punk enters. Rollins wound up getting attacked by Knight and Punk. One guy would punch him. Rollins would go. The other guy would punch him. Punk set up Rollins for a go to sleep. Rollins slipped out, shoved Punk into Knight, whose back was turned. He was standing on the apron getting ready for some sort of attack on Bronson Reed, who was on the floor. But there was a Slim Jim table set up on the floor outside. So when Rollins shoves Punk into Knight, Knight goes flying off the apron. He crashes through the Slim Jim table, which is very appropriate because he's one of their spokespeople. Right? LA Knight and Bianca Belair, I believe, are the two, and of course, Randy Savage, are the official spokespeople for Slim Jim. Do I remember Jeff Hardy's voices in TNA? I don't doubt that Jeff Hardy was hearing voices in TNA, but no, I don't remember that. And I certainly hope that you're not. I certainly hope you're not citing TNA as some example of great creative here or something. I certainly hope not. But Punk sees this and he just shrugs his shoulders and leaves the ring and chases Rollins out into the crowd. So with the match still in progress, Breakker set a table up in the ring. Jey super kicked him. Breakker fell nice and neatly. He was laid out on the table. Jey went to the top when Bronson Reed shoved him off. And the crowd at this point is chanting for Roman Reigns because they know he's there. He was advertised locally for this show. They know he's coming out. It's only a matter of time, right? Like, he's obviously going to be on this show. So sure enough, as Breakker goes outside to set up for a super spear where he's going to kind of run around the ring, they hit the OTC's music and the roof came off the place. Finally, like the first person on this entire show, maybe outside of Rhea, but not quite, to get this kind of reaction. They go nuts for this. Now, Bron, he's looking at the stage. He's waiting for Roman to come out. And he kind of hesitates, right? He's like waiting and waiting and waiting, and nobody comes out. So basically, he's like, all right, fuck it. And he goes for his super spear. But as he rounds the corner, Roman, he came out through the crowd, jumps over the timekeeper's barricade, and Roman spears him instead on the floor. Reigns also then speared Bronson Reed. Roman throws Breakker back into the ring. He ends up on the table again, and this time Jey Uso lands an Uso splash through the table and pins Bron Breakker to win the match. And as Jey is posing for the crowd, Reigns told Reed, who is in the aisle with Paul Heyman, they're kind of looking at each other, and he tells him that he will see him in Paris. And Bronson Reed is completely on board with this. He tells him, I'll see you in Paris, and I'm going to take your shoes again. Because he doesn't have enough pairs of Roman shoes. He's going to take another trophy for himself. The best part of this being an Extreme Rules match is that meant no disqualification finish, so the streak is over. The streak of 4 straight weeks with bullshit DQ main event finishes on this show has officially come to an end. We actually had a winner tonight. And I thought as a main event, it was good. It was a good main event. Your typical WWE Extreme Rules match, but with the added bonus of a Roman Reigns return, who, again, helped wake that crowd up because they were pretty quiet for most of the show. Punk accidentally colliding with LA Knight obviously is going to cause more problems between them on next week's show. And now we have another match made official for Paris. It'll be Roman Reigns one-on-one against Bronson Reed. But I will say, outside of the main event and the Naomi segment, it was another very missable show. In a long line recently of very missable WWE shows. And I was just thinking, I thought back to last year. You remember when they actually tried to be creative? And they were doing those really fun segments with Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman. Remember the segment where Bronson Reed, he did a fucking splash off the concrete wall down onto Braun Strowman on top of a car in the parking. Like, they were doing stuff that like was out of the box and it was fun and chaotic. Like, I miss that. We don't get enough of that. I'm not saying, you know, two big guys killing each other in the parking lot specifically, but they were actually attempting to come up with creative ideas to make the show more fun and exciting. We don't get enough of that these days. It's like they're on cruise control. They push a button, they know they're going to sell out, and they don't give a shit. And it really brings down the enjoyment of these shows. You'll find a couple of segments here and there that kind of shine through, or a really good match. Again, the Naomi thing was the best part of the entire show. The main event I thought was good. I can't say a whole lot about everything else on the show. It was just there. These shows, they have no life to them. And it's not just a Raw problem lately. It's a SmackDown problem. It's bled over into both shows. And I'm just begging them. I'm begging them to start doing some stuff to make me look at this show and think, man, that was exciting. I can't wait to see what they come up with next week. Because that's how I felt when we were seeing those segments. It made me think of it looking at Bronson Reed here in the closing segment. When we were getting those segments, that was fun. And it helped. That's actually one of the key things that helped Bronson Reed get over in the first place. I miss that. We need more of that type of stuff on this show. Because whatever this is, especially the last few weeks, woof. There's no reason that 75% of the show should be a fucking bore. Take a look at the poll. What did you think of Raw from Philadelphia here? The city of brotherly love. I'll be in Philadelphia in a few weeks. Hope to see some of you there. 24% of you gave the show an A grade. 40.5% give it a B. 21.8% give it a C. And roughly 14% gave this show a D. And everybody in the chat can wave goodbye to our friend Sonics. Wave goodbye. Sonics is gone. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Fuck off. You annoying bitch. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened to the mods. The mods apparently fell asleep at the wheel. Sometimes you got to do it all yourself, apparently. Consider it done. I won't be seeing him anymore. All right. Yeah, a B is generous, says Zizo Zank. Let's take a look at your super chats. Oh, you like that, huh? You spamming little shitbag. All right. Let's go back to the beginning here. Let's start with Love Dogs Avery with $1.99. So I want to give a shout out to the self-made guys. I'm self-made. If you giving me a shout out, I'll give you a shout out right back. GMB, Final Boss Rock, or Hollywood Rock? Final Boss is kind of a version of Hollywood Rock. Not exactly. I got a special place, though, in my wrestling fandom for Hollywood Rock. We really did not get him for long enough. That's the shame of it. I think I might go Hollywood Rock, though, honestly. Just as a heel character, not someone that was an authority figure, which is basically what Final Boss Rock was. I kind of like it a little bit more. But either one is fine, really. Andre Johnson with the $4.99. Why did the Scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in his field. I liked that the first time I heard it, when Conan used it in his induction speech for Rey Mysterio in the Hall of Fame. Thank you, Andre. He says, I also hate that Natty was beat just for us to get to Bella versus Lynch. Well, I mean, that was always the plan. Nikki and Becky is probably going to be the Clash in Paris match, so. Terrible Dry Chicken says, I will admit the announcement is joyful and at the same time underwhelming because it's another huge loss for the women's division. Congrats to Naomi. I wish her the very best. We all wish her the very best. The women's division will heal itself. Somehow, some way. The women's division, at least on Raw, is in slightly better shape than SmackDown. I talked about the SmackDown women's division, especially with the titles and that whole situation. It is very dire right now. Joseph Stewart says Dominic is going to be the next big megastar in WWE. Dom's going to be a big babyface when the time comes. He's going to be a very big babyface. Also, he says congratulations to both Naomi and Jimmy. Rest in peace to Terrence Stamp. Were you a fan of Terrence Stamp as General Zod in Superman 2? I was not, because I was not really into the Superman movies. I am aware of who General Zod is, but was I a fan of General Zod? No. I can't say that I was. Do you remember Coolio was in Batman and Robin? I did not remember that. It says Coolio was going to play the Scarecrow in Batman 5 after Batman and Robin, with Madonna as Harley Quinn and Jack Nicholson returning as the Joker. I think you made that up. Hulkling93 says, to paraphrase Allen Iverson's legendary practice rant, Bronson's big threat to Roman tonight was to take his shoes. We're threatening shoes. We ain't threatening careers. We're threatening shoes, man. Hey, those are expensive shoes. Those are some expensive shoes. Joseph Stewart, Robin was going to become Nightwing in Batman 5. Do you think Dominic Mysterio?
I have one pair of skinny jeans, and I'm going to wear them every week just to piss you off.
It's Hollywood Dave. We talked about Hollywood Rock. We have Hollywood Dave Batista. Hollywood Dave was a great character, too. Do you think Dominic Mysterio would make a great Zorro in a Zorro movie or a Zorro series? I wasn't really aware that anybody cared enough to want to see a Zorro movie or a Zorro series. Zorro is kind of a blast from the past. But no, I don't. Do you think that we could have had a Raven Flock versus NWO feud in WCW? And would you have liked to have seen that feud happen? Raven's Flock in the NWO? No. No, not really. Do you remember the song Face to Face by Susie and the Banshees, the song from Batman Returns? I don't. I do not. Do you remember U2, Hold Me, Kiss Me, Thrill Me from Batman Forever in the music video? Hold on a second. It's in here somewhere. There it is. And the music video showing clips from Batman Forever. That one I think I vaguely do remember that. Do you remember the Warner Brothers store that were in the malls in the 90s? I don't, but I remember Suncoast Video used to be a thing. Terrible Dry Chicken. Call up Kalani Jordan, Lola Vice. Well, Lola Vice has been sent over to AAA. That's where she is right now. Call up Kalani, Lola, Jada Parker, Carmen Petrovic, and Lash Legend. Need more fresh blood for that division. I agree with you on Lash, Jada, and Kalani. I feel like Lola Vice should probably stick with AAA for a while. Carmen, you know, I haven't seen enough of her work recently to say whether or not she should stay with NXT for a while or if she's ready to be called up. But I think with the other women like Lash and Jada, like they're ready. Like you can, and even Kalani, like you can get them up now, spread them out. You know, maybe two new faces, maybe on SmackDown, one on Raw. Lola got optioned to AAA. Yeah, she did. It's exactly what happened. She got optioned to AAA. Terrible Dried Chicken says, let me tell you how to piss off this Philly crowd, brother. Woods wears Braves outfits, Kofi wears Celtics outfits, and Waller wears Cowboys outfits. I still don't think the crowd would have really reacted much. It was a very quiet crowd tonight. Joseph says, what is your favorite Coolio song? I have two of them. Gangsta's Paradise is one, and Fantastic Voyage is the other. Also, do you think Bron Breakker should have been Goldberg's final opponent? It's the idea that I pitched. Gunther ended up being a good final opponent, but I would have gone with Bron Breakker. Given him the rub by having him beat Goldberg. Not only beat Goldberg, but be the man to retire Goldberg. Abyssal Zones. I expect Naomi to be a massive babyface when she comes back. Well, I mean, initially she will be, but if they want her to be a heel, it shouldn't be that difficult. Like, initially, she'll get that babyface pop. But I would love to see her, go back to the heel persona that she was doing. It's tough, though. You never know if you can kind of recapture that magic that you had. Joseph says, did you know Coolio sung the theme song to the show Keenan and Kel? I did know that. I would check out Keenan and Kel when I could. I was a little old for it, but my brother would watch it, so I would watch Keenan and Kel, and I always enjoyed it. Except, of course, Dan Schneider being on there. Knowing what we know now, it's very creepy. The Mount Vernon kid, Christopher Bennett. Bailey better start flipping a double-headed coin and calling herself Bailey Dent. Dried Chicken says, I double dog dare Natty to work a death match on GCW. I think that the bet really should be I double dog dare Paul Levesque to allow Natty to work a death match in GCW. I think Natty would do it. She'll never get permission to do it, but I think she would do it. Frank, thanks again for the encouragement, brother. You're very welcome. Thank you for the email. Alex with the 5. Brother Solo, I know we're ways out, but can you see Y2J being the big surprise return for the Royal Rumble in 2026? I don't know when his contract is up. There's been all kinds of rumors about 2026, 2027. I don't know when his deal is up, so I can't say for sure whether or not he'll even be able to be a surprise in the Rumble. Can they keep that surprise? It's hard to keep surprises these days. They did with Brock. But considering that the Royal Rumble is in Saudi Arabia also, I'm going to say no. My guess is no. Joseph says, have you seen the movie Dangerous Minds with Michelle Pfeiffer? Yes. BJ Blazkowicz, your video last night hit on what AEW's future could look like if Tony Khan and AEW don't get their heads out of their ass and actually look at what they need to fix and make AEW as valuable as possible. Well, I mean, there was a lot of there was a lot to take away from that segment. I wouldn't say that was the number one point of it, but certainly if Tony Khan, if what he said at that scrum 3 years ago was accurate and he's got cards to play, you know, if WWE wants to play hardball, then I would say now's the time to start showing some of those cards. Either that or he was just full of hot air. Base Beerus. Buy or sell Adam Pearce or AJ Lee. Best authority figure. Best authority figure, that would be the Solomonster in House of Glory. But the second best would be AJ Lee. I would buy AJ Lee over Adam Pearce. See, AJ, she knew how to lay down the law. Christopher Bennett, the Mount Vernon Kid, says, my brother Hulkling93 and I are glad to hear that you loved Sinners. It's my favorite movie of 2025. Do you have a favorite character and scene? I thought Michael B. Jordan killed it in the movie, playing two different characters. Forget which. I don't want to. I was going to say which one of them, which one of those two characters, which brother was my favorite, but I would be spoiling the movie a little bit, so I won't do that. But as far as my favorite scene, it might have been where we had the vampires singing the Irish song. I love that song. It's a very catchy song. And there's a scene where they're all outside the building, and they're singing the song and dancing and everything. I don't know. That might be my favorite. It's a great movie. Again, my only regret is that I didn't see it in theaters when it first came out. Bobby Means, I'm happy for Naomi, but in the meantime, this is a perfect time for Roxanne Perez to take that belt, but I feel like we may get some call-ups. Maybe Sol Ruca. Sol Ruca's, absolutely. Sol Ruca's been rumored that they really like her a lot. She was on SmackDown not that long ago. And, it might have been that weekend that they ran up against All In weekend. Right? She was on 3 shows that week. She was on SmackDown. She was on the Great American Bash. And she was at Evolution. So they think very highly of her. We didn't mention her before when we were talking about potential call-ups. Joseph says, were you a fan of Sid running in WCW, his run in WCW from 1999 until he broke his leg in 2001? No, not really. And I wasn't a fan of Savage's late WCW run either. It was sad. It was sad to see him in that state. He couldn't do anything. He really couldn't. His knees were just completely shot. He was so roided up. I hate that run for him, actually. That's my least favorite version of Randy Savage. And for Sid, I didn't hate his run as much as I hated Savage's run, but I don't really look back on it with any great fondness. Base Beerus, I so miss the energy of Attitude Era crowds. I was part of a lot of those crowds. Believe me, I feel it too. Joseph, have you seen Mask of Zorro with Antonio Banderas? No. I did see Carrie Elwes, though, playing his own version of Zorro in The Princess Bride. Saw that. Marquand, Solo, my sides are still hurting from you mentioning Vampiro farting on the microphone. Then I found video, and ouch. I'm telling you, man. I talked about this in my Triple Mania review. There have been some bad Triple Manias. This was one of the better ones. And I haven't seen them all, but like clearly this was one of the better ones. But there's that infamous one from 6 years ago where Vampiro was on commentary and he just did not give a shit. He's fucking responding to mean tweets about him during the show. Matt Stryker's trying to get him to focus. And then at one point he farted so loud it was like a nuclear explosion. You could hear it. You could hear it on his headset. His headset's on his head. It's not on his ass, and you could hear it. And then the stuff later where they wouldn't play his music, say he wouldn't do the run-in until they played his music, and he's cussing up a storm. What a disaster. Entertaining, but what a disaster. Joseph says, do you like what WWE is doing with Kiana James on SmackDown? I don't mind her being a representative for Julia, but they're not really doing anything with it. So no, so far I'm not. MacTub, how much do you blame Cena for the failed heel run? I blame him to the extent that he just kind of goes with the flow. You know, he's like, yeah, sure. You want to do this? That sounds great. Okay, cool. Because I mean, it's, and maybe he doesn't care because it's his final year. So it's not like, well, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You know, it's not like he's in a position where failed creative is going to somehow doom him for the next few years. And he's pretty much Teflon anyway at this point. But I think if he was someone who was a little more assertive with this stuff, I don't know, maybe things would have turned out differently. I don't know. I don't know what kind of creative mind he has. But that if I assign any blame to him at all, that would be it. Just the fact that and he says it, he admits it in every interview he does, where I don't politic or lobby for opponents, and I don't really, you know, say no to stuff. I just show up and I do what I'm told to the best of my ability. And this is one of those situations where I wish he would have been a little more assertive and involved. Leopard Toes has been a channel member for 9 months. Catching a flight back to law school in 5 hours. Says, wish me safe travels. Safe travels. Get there in one piece. Thank you for all that you do. You've helped me through very tough times. Well, one of the reasons why I'm here. I'm glad to hear that. Again, safe travels, brother. Then why did he beat the Nexus? Why do you think? Because Vince McMahon thought that this is how it has to be. John Cena has to beat the Nexus. What do you think? That's all Cena's idea? Vince couldn't possibly want John Cena to go over on the Nexus? Whose fault do you think it is? Come on, dude. Duff's Vids, this morning my son put his shoes on the wrong feet. I don't even know where he got someone else's feet. Joseph. Buy or sell, Austin breaking into Pillman's house or Triple H breaking into Randy Orton's house? Austin breaking into Pillman's house. Javier says, hey, Solomonster, how was Raw tonight? Not great. Not as bad as last week, but not great. MJF, Kenny Omega, or the Young Bucks? Who do you ever see going to WWE in the future? MJF, for sure. I don't see the Bucks going. Omega, I could see going. I could see Omega. The only one I'm for sure, like, at some point he's going is MJF. Brian Finelli, Dreamer tweeted a GIF with the Raw hashtag, seemingly in response to Heyman. A GIF with the Raw hashtag? What does that even mean? least he didn't tweet a picture of a gun. We got Dr. Scorpio. I finally came up with a good clock pun. It's about time. I'll show my... Oh, it's about time. God. It's about time. It's about time. I'll see myself out. Thanks for watching so I don't have to. Well, that's why I'm here. I watch. So if you don't want to, you don't have to. Edward. Maybe we get 3 faces of Bayley. Role model, ding-dong, heel, and hugger. I just hope something good comes from it. Also, they released Becky's new theme on YouTube if you want to hear it. Oh, no, they released it on Spotify. So they released it on Spotify at midnight, depending on what time zone you're in. So I grabbed it. 3 faces of Bayley. Well, let's see what happens. Let's not kill the idea completely until we see it play out. Chris Mikesell, I wish Luna was with us today. I remembered you saying that you met her once. She would have been happy for sure to see how the women's division turned out. It would have been nice if she would have gotten her flowers from the company while she was still alive. Yeah, I met her twice, actually. I got her autograph. I got pictures with her. I met her for the first time I met her was in '94. And the second time I met her was in the luxury box at the Meadowlands at the first Raw that I ever went to in '98. She was very, very nice. I've posted the pictures. MacTub. What could Rock Austin have done to surpass Triple H? I'm not Triple H. Hulk Hogan. They already surpassed Triple H. What could they have done to surpass Hulk Hogan as the GOAT for you? Or was that just not... Hold on. Or was that just not possible? Also, do you think Chuck McGill works as a manager? I do. I do. As far as GOAT, I mean, they didn't lay the foundation for the company in the way that Hogan did. And that has to, for me anyway, it factors into things. It factors into his spot on Rushmore and, you know, his overall impact on the company. I don't think that there's anything that they could have done to, you know, kind of in my mind, rank above him in terms of just the impact that he had. And Austin and Rock themselves had great impact. But I don't know that there's anything they could have done. I mean, Hogan was just right guy, right time, and they went with him and it worked, and it just came at the right time that he became, you know, available and was the face of their national expansion. And from that expansion, we got the Attitude Era. Austin, you know, it's sort of like Austin, or not Austin, but Hogan had to lay the foundation so that Austin and Rock could build upon that foundation. And Cena and everybody, and Roman and everybody else who came after that. We got Duff's Vids. I meet this girl at a party last night named Brie. She was a little cheesy. I don't like cheese. And terrible dried chicken. Big shout out to Konosuke Takeshita for winning the G1 Climax. AEW signing him paid off. He's got contracts with 3 different companies: DDT, New Japan, and AEW. And he did win the G1. He beat Evil in the finals. He has said that he would like to walk into the Tokyo Dome as the champion, so it's entirely possible, like Zack Sabre last year, that he may win the championship in the next few months before he even gets to Wrestle Kingdom. I kind of like that idea better because I feel like he's not a long-term IWGP champion. So if he was to, where was he born? Is he from Osaka? They have these shows that usually come between the end of the G1 and the beginning of the year, Power Struggle and whatever other shows there may be. I mean, maybe they could work it where they do a show from, his hometown if it's somewhere in Osaka or something, and he can win the championship there, and let him hold it until Wrestle Kingdom, and have one of the young guys that they really need to start prepping to be the guy. I don't know what's taking them so long. Because they have a bunch of them, whether it's Shota Umino or Yota Tsuji, and there's others as well. Tsuji got bounced in the semifinals of the G1, and so maybe he may end up in the main event at Wrestle Kingdom, and then you can have him unseat Takeshita to win the championship. I feel like for the health and future of New Japan, they really have to start going all the way with some of these guys and building them up, because Tanahashi is aged out. Naito is gone. A lot of guys are gone, frankly. A lot of them are in AEW now. Okada's gone. You've got to really start building these guys up quicker. I saw a stat that said that the attendance for the G1 this year was the lowest it's been in more than a decade. They're in a rebuilding phase right now, but I don't think time is on their side. I'm not saying, rush everybody to the top, but like, they've been building these guys up now for a few years. And at some point you got to pull the trigger and say, okay, we're going to crown this guy, or we're going to crown that guy. Takeshita's great, but it's a full-time job to be the IWGP champion. AEW is still his priority. Tony Khan's not going to allow him, to be IWGP champion for a full fucking year, and spend half the year in Japan. That's just not going to happen. But I think giving him a short run and having somebody like Tsuji beat him for the belt makes all the sense in the world. But Geto is going to do what Geto is going to do. Geto is not going to be winning Booker of the Year anytime soon. Terrible Dry Chicken says, happy 30 years to Mortal Kombat's 1995 movie. 30 years, huh? Where does the time go? Duff's Vid says, why did Beethoven get rid of his chickens? All they said was, bok, bok, bok. I should have given you the flush for that, but it was kind of clever. Carlos Galvan, 45 months of membership, says, hey, Solo, any fond memories of your cat that you can remember? Yeah, lots of great memories of Jinx, the cat. I can't think of any crazy story off the top of my head, but I have a lot of fond memories, a lot of positive memories of her. She lived a full life, almost 18 years on this earth. Probably the last pet that I'll ever have. Thank you, Carlos. Actually, I do remember one thing. Years ago, God, this had to be maybe 2018, maybe sometime around then, because she died in 2019, so maybe 2017, 2018. It was during this period where Raw was just, oh God, it's just awful. Absolutely awful. And I was laying on the bed watching Raw, and I had this perfect shot of her on the bed in front of me, passed out cold, and in the background you see Raw on the TV, and I just said, this is the perfect metaphor for this show. And I tweeted it out. So that was kind of funny. Joseph, what is your favorite Chris Farley role from Saturday Night Live? I mean, how could I vote against in a van down by the river? God, what the hell was his name? That was Matt Foley. What was his character's name in that segment? Was it Matt Foley? Then he takes the bump through the table, and everybody on the set, including David Spade, is trying very hard not to just completely crack up laughing. Base Barris, Hogan carried 2 companies as a face and a heel. Yeah, I pointed that out, when I did my eulogy and the whole memorial segment for him. I said, I cannot think of another person in the history of the wrestling business who, it's not just a matter of carrying a company. It's more like was the face of a business boom for 2 different companies, kind of lit the fuse. And not only 2 different companies, but one is a babyface and one is a heel. That's insane. Matt Fisher says, be the booker. Yes, we are going to be the booker momentarily. Matt Foley, motivational Santa. Good old Matt Foley. I miss Chris Farley. He was awesome. Joseph Stewart says, have you seen the deleted scene on YouTube from Batman Forever where Bruce Wayne confronts the giant bat underneath the Batcave? No, I have not. I think you have every scene in the movie memorized. It's very impressive. It's very impressive. Nick Grasso with a $9.99. Do you think it's a mistake for the lights out steel cage match to main event over MJF and Hangman? I mean, do we know for sure that it is? I know typically those matches, because they're not sanctioned, right, do close out the show, but do we know for a fact that that's closing out the show? I mean, technically you could do it earlier. I mean, you could do it before the main event. Is it a mistake? It all depends on what they have planned for the show. If there's some kind of major angle, return, debut, that might necessitate that match going on last, or if the finish for Hangman MJF they feel like is going to be such that it's going to leave people disappointed, then it's not a mistake. Right? I don't know what they have planned. Maybe there's a reason for it. Also, do you think Dakota Kai shows up at Forbidden Door? I don't know in what role she would show up. I know Shayna Baszler was kind of teasing that she would love to come to AEW maybe, and she's got friends there like Marina Shafir. I'm going to say no. If she does come in, I don't know why it would be Forbidden Door. All right, we're currently sitting at 512 likes, which is awesome. On that note, let's be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
Farley's skit with Patrick Swayze in the Chippendales tryout is hilarious. That's a classic one. Chris Farley and John Candy. Two comedians, 2 actors I really wish were still around. All right, tag team, be the booker. And we begin with the All-American boys. The fabulous Rougeau brothers, Jacques and Raymond. They got a bitchin' theme song, too. No Def Rebel here. Everyone had a unique theme song. It kind of gave them this unique identity. Now it all just sort of blends together, doesn't it? They're going to be facing Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus. I think that would be a very good tag team match. The Rougeaus were a very good team. All right, on the ladies' side, with Naomi out of the picture now, we can't pick her and be the booker now. She is with child. She is ineligible to compete. But she's not. Eve Torres, hello. Hello. There she is. Former Divas champion, Eve Torres. I had a thing for Eve. But now she's married. She's married to like Henry Gracie or something. I'm not gonna mess around there. Eve Torres is gonna go one-on-one with Piper Niven. Although in this image, this is Dewdrop. I don't know. It just doesn't have that marquee match I was looking for here. I was looking for a bigger match than that. I didn't get it. So I got to give it the buzz. So no clean sweep tonight. But let's see what our main event will yield for us here, shall we? And it yields an Olympic gold medalist who won a gold medal with a broken freaking neck. Kurt Angle. In the main event. It's going to be a good main event. It's going to be a good night with Kurt Angle in the main event of Be the Booker. Kurt Angle against Orange Cassidy. Kurt Angle is in it. Orange Cassidy can go. It's a good match, man. It's a good match. You may not hate, you can hate on OC all you want, but prime Kurt Angle, Orange Cassidy, be a hell of a match. The moment that Orange Cassidy pulls that pocket shit on Kurt Angle, he's getting suplexed. I'm talking like, if we're talking like machine Kurt Angle from 2002, 2003, yeah, he's not putting up with that shit. Kurt Angle versus Solomonster. Oh, I'm submitting. I'm forfeiting the match. I'm not even going to attempt. I'm even going to attempt to win the match. I am in Be the Booker, by the way. We've landed on me a few times. As you recall, we had Solomonster and Khali in what I believe was a Punjabi prison match once. Be the Booker really had it out for me that night. Thankfully, tonight I'm safe. All right, so Wednesday night, we have the Dynamite post show back here on this channel. Before then, I'll be live tomorrow night over on JD's channel for another episode of Tuesday Night Titans. So we have Dynamite on Wednesday. We have SmackDown on Friday. Be aware, I probably will be going live earlier than usual. So I normally would go live on Fridays around 11. Well, not 11, 10:30-ish. If I'm able to watch Raw at 3 o'clock in the afternoon with my Express VPN, you can get 4 extra months free, by the way, with our offer. Check the description down below if you need a VPN. I'll probably go live then around 8 o'clock Eastern. If you can join, would love to have you. And then next Monday, Raw airs earlier at 3 o'clock Eastern time. So that'll be an 8 p.m. stream most likely that night. By the way, Forbidden Door is coming up this weekend. And I think it's going to be the same thing. Forbidden Door has a 1 p.m. Eastern start time for the main card. So if you figure it's an AEW show, so it's probably not ending before 5 o'clock. My plan would be to go live around 8. So that way I can actually eat food when the pay-per-view is over. And then get myself situated and then we can go live. So just to give you guys a heads up on the schedule coming up this weekend. That's probably how we're going to work things. And then if that goes well, I'll probably do the same thing for Clash in Paris the following Sunday, because that starts at 2 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time. Figure I'll watch the show, take notes, have dinner, get ready, and then go live around 8 o'clock. There's no reason to just kill myself and rush right into it. And you know, it's just ridiculous. These shows are out of control, but that's how we'll work it. So I will see you guys then. Go back and check out episode 925 of the podcast. I was really happy with that episode and all the ground I was able to cover. One of those rare weekends where I didn't have news break as soon as I am done recording the show, as is known to happen sometimes. Be well. Stay safe. Is Collision going to be on Thursday? I don't fucking know. I don't know. Bounces back and forth so many times between... oh, that's right. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. Dynamite is in Scotland. Shit, I didn't think about that. That's a good point. That's a very good point. Now, see, I don't know how that's going to work. Let's see if we can figure this out. I completely forgot that Dynamite is in Glasgow on Wednesday. So, is it going to be airing earlier on HBO Max in certain international markets? Can somebody check and let me know? I totally forgot about that. Even Dynamite is airing internationally, but I don't know if it's going to be airing on HBO. See, HBO Max, I thought HBO Max was only domestic anyway. Let me see if I could check this real quick. Skip Dynamite and take the night off? Well, that's not a bad idea either. I think that might be a fun show, though. In front of that crowd, I think it might be a fun show. Let me see here. Damn, forgot about that. What time does Dynamite air from Scotland? All right, AEW Dynamite airs live from Glasgow, Scotland on August 20th at 6 p.m. British Summer Time, which is 1 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're in the U.S., you can watch it live on TNT and HBO Max, according to Wikipedia, but that doesn't help me. Is it viewable at that time in other countries? All right, I'll look into this. Oh, man. I'll look into this. If I can watch Dynamite on Wednesday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon with my VPN, then that's what I'll do. And then I'll probably go live. If not right after, then maybe 8 o'clock. Is Forbidden Door on Sunday? Yes. Forbidden Door is on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern with a pre-show that starts, I believe, at 11 a.m. Eastern. All right, well, just assume that Dynamite Wednesday night is going to be as normal, and if it's not, follow me on X at Solomonster. I'll keep you guys posted on there. All this international mayhem here. Joseph says, I'm listening to Coolio Gangster's Paradise right now. If I could, I would play it on here in the background. It's a great song. Terrible Dried Chicken says, the worst theme song to wake up to as your alarm, The Right to Censor, Perry Saturn or Brie Mode. I would say Billy Gunn's Ass Man theme, especially if you're like in a deep sleep and you have no idea what's going on. Imagine being awoken to a song that says I'm an ass man and you have no idea what's going on. Like, was I having a prison dream or something? Duff's Vid says, is WWE doing a PLE this month or next on ESPN app exclusively? Which PLEs? Is WWE doing a PLE this month? Yeah, they're doing Clash in Paris. The very last day of August. And stay tuned later in the week. There's going to be an announcement coming of WrestlePalooza on September 20th. And it sounds like it will be airing on ESPN. Now, I don't know if that means it's not airing on Peacock or if it'll be simulcasting on Peacock. I don't know. But apparently there's some ESPN tie-in. So we have to wait until, I believe, Wednesday is the rumored announcement. Normal time for Dynamite in Canada. Yeah, so it may not be airing earlier like on television in other countries. It might still be whatever 8 p.m. Eastern would be. It might be that in other time zones. So we might be normal time for the stream on Wednesday. I'll keep you guys posted. I'll see you guys. Thank you for all the love. Come on back for more Sound Of here on YouTube. Until then, take care, guys. Shout out to Alex coming in late with a $10 super chat. To my friends Daniel, Dutch, and Ram celebrated their birthdays all within the last few days. They're huge fans of you. Can you give them a quick shout out? Much love. I'll do better than that. I'll say happy birthday, Daniel, Dutch, and Ram.
Holy shit.
I hope you had great birthdays. Thanks for being a fan. And Alex, thank you for the super chat. All right, I'm out. Peace.